Hi guys, it's Mrs. Perrone. We're on page 40, no, not page 40, we're on page 64 of your Shiny Math book. We're considering this problem right here. On Monday, the value of a stock decreased by ½ a point. On Tuesday, the value increased by 3/4 of a point. On Wednesday, the value decreased by 3/8 of a point. And we want to know what number represents the change in stock value after the 3 days. So we want to know total change. They did not use the word total. I think we could input the word total change right here, which would imply that we need to add these three numbers together. And we also have to look for some keywords. On Monday, the value of the stock decreased by ½ a point. That means we're looking at -1/2. On Tuesday, the value increased by 3/4 of a point, so that's +3/4. And on Wednesday, the value decreased by 3/8, so we're talking about -3/8. And so if we want to know the total change in stock after 3 days, we need to add these three numbers. And you might want to put parentheses around the negative number here so that you don't have like two symbols next to each other. That looks a little bit weird. But this is what we need to do. So once again, I know that you could plug this into your calculator and it would give you the answer, and you have to also do it by hand. So we need a common denominator here. So I know that 8 is a multiple of 4 and a multiple of 2. So we're going to rewrite both of these fractions so that they have a denominator of 8. So this one we actually won't be changing, but these two we will be. So if I multiply the top and bottom of the second fraction by 2, that'll make it, the denominators will match. So let me write my step down. And then for this first fraction, if I multiply the top and bottom by 4, then the denominator will be 8 and it'll match this one over here. I have to do the same thing to the top as I do to the bottom. So I wrote my step down. I need to now rewrite this whole expression, and then I'll add the numerators. So here I go. For this first one, it's still negative. On top, I have 1 times 4, which is 4, 2 times 4, which is 8, plus 3 times 2 is 6, and then on bottom, 4 times 2 is 8. And this last part did not change. So I now have 3 fractions that have the same denominator. And so I know that my answer is going to have a denominator of 8. And I have to add the numerators. So here I go. I'm going to do -4 plus 6 plus -3. So -4 plus 6 plus -3. So you could use your calculator to help you with this. If you've already done all this fraction work, I'm okay with you using your calculator to help you with this. I don't want you to do this much work and then mess up here and get the whole thing wrong. So I'm going to use my calculator to support me to simplify my numerator here. -4 plus 6 plus -3. I end up with -1. So my final answer here is -1/8. Notice how I put the minus sign out in the middle. You could have put it on top or on bottom, just not in both places. I like to put it in the middle. So I've done my work, and now I can select my correct answer, 1/8 of a point. So that means after the 3 days at the end of the 3 days, the stock was down by a total of -1/8 of a point. So now might be a good time to pause the video and try the next problem on your own, and then play the video when you're ready to check your work. Which expression represents a negative number? Okay, so what I would suggest that you do is really study the number line here and figure out what you know about this number, A, and this number, B. So let's start with A. I know that A is a number in between 0 and 1, and it's a little bit closer to 1. So if I had to make an approximation, I would say that maybe A could be like 0.75. I'm not totally sure, but it's pretty close. I know that B, if I were to extend this out, this would be about -2. I know that b would be a number in between -1 and -2. So if I had to make an approximation for b, let's see, it would maybe be somewhere like -1.6. I'm going to use those two numbers to approximate a and b and to select my correct answer. Again, I want to know which expression represents a negative number. There's one that I can rule out right away, and that's option C. A is definitely not a negative number because it's to the right of 0, so I can eliminate that choice. Let's see. So let's start at the top. So I want to know if a plus b is a negative number. So let's check. I'm going to use these numbers that I sort of guesstimated. They are approximate, but they are appropriate for their position. So I'm going to add them together and check option A. So for option A, we're going to see if A, or 0.75, plus B, or -1.6, equals a positive number, a negative number. We're looking for the one that comes out to be a negative number. So use your calculator, 0.75 plus -1.6. I got -0.85. So I got lucky on my first try, -0.85. So I know this one comes out to be a negative number. Just for funsies, we're going to go through the other two options and we're going to definitely rule them out so that we know for sure that our answer is correct. Let's see what happens or what the result would be if we did a minus b instead of a plus b. So 0.75 minus -1.6. So without using your calculator, you might recall that when you subtract a negative, it's the same as adding a positive. So 0.75 plus 1.6. That's adding two positive numbers. I got 2.35. That's definitely a positive number. I'm looking for a negative number, so I know this answer is definitely wrong. I've already ruled out C. And then let's see what negative B would be. So negative B would be negative, B is -1.6, negative 1.6. So if you're like, man, that's really weird, I don't know what's going on there, think about it like the opposite of -1.6. So negative 1.6 is the opposite of -1.6, which is positive 1.6. Again, not a negative number, so not the one we are looking for. We're going to move to the very last problem on the page. Once again, now would be a good time to pause the video and try this problem on your own, and then play the video when you're ready to check your work. So for this problem, it's got lots of parts. We're going to identify the number or numbers that make each statement true. I would probably underline the word true so you remember, little visual cue for your brain. You're looking for the ones that make the equation true or make each statement true. You may select one or both numbers for each statement. So please make sure that you are reading the directions fully. Read them 2 or 3 times. These questions have all kinds of different formats. You want to make sure that you are doing the right thing and that you understand that you are going to be selecting one number or maybe both. So please read carefully. So let's try A. It says -3.7 plus something equals a positive number. So we're going to be adding these two numbers to -3.7, and we want to know if the outcome is a positive number. So if I were to add -4.9 to -3.7, the result would be even more negative. So I know that I would not want to check this box because -3.7 plus -4.9 would not result in a positive number. What about this one? So -3.7 plus 3.8. Well, if I was thinking about it like a number line, if I was 3.7 units to the left of 0 and then I went 3.8 to the right, I would pass 0 and go 1 more tenth past 0 to the right, so I would land at a positive number. So this one I do want to check. And if you're not sure, double check with your calculator. So -3.7 plus 3.8, I land at positive 0.1. That is a positive number, which was what I was looking for, so I want to check that box, but not this box, because negative 3.7 plus negative 4.9 does not result in a positive number. So for A, we're not going to check the first box, we are going to check the second box. All right, so this one's a little bit tricky. It's not that tricky, actually. We want to know something minus 1 1/3 equals a negative number. Okay, 1 1/3. So 1 1/3. If you were using, if you remember the worksheet that we did the other day, you can rewrite this mixed number as an improper fraction by doing 3 times 1 plus 1. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, and the denominator stays 3. So if you don't like looking at the mixed number, the mixed number, you can think about this as 4/3. And that's actually going to help you when you consider your answer choices here. You want to know which one or both of these two, which ones results in a negative number. So if I were to plug in 4/3, what would I get? So 4/3 minus 4/3 is 0. Anything minus itself equals 0. 0 is not a negative number, so I would not check this box. Try my next choice. Negative 5. So negative 5 minus 1 1/3, or minus 4/3. So if you have a negative number like negative 5, and then you subtract even more, you're going to go even farther into the negative. That's like if you owe someone $5 and then you borrow another 1 1/3 dollars, you're going to owe them negative 6 1/3 dollars. So that's a negative number. So this one would result in a negative number. All right, moving on to C. We want to know something plus 8 equals 0. Well, I know it's not this one because 8 plus 8 is 16 and definitely not 0. However, negative 8 plus 8 is 0. So this is the one I want to check. And the last one, negative 4.52 plus something equals a negative number. So let's do a little bit of guess and check here, or we'll just plug in both of these and see which one results in a negative number. Negative 4.52 plus negative 5.4. So without crunching any numbers really, I know that when I add a negative number to another negative number, that the result is even more negative. And that's all I need to know. So this one definitely results in a negative number, so I'm going to check that box. Let's try this one. So negative 4.52 plus, I'm reading this here, plus something, plus 3.86. I need to know if that's positive or negative. So I think about it like a number line. If I was over, like, on the left side of 0 at negative 4.52, and then I went 3.86 to the right, like towards 0, I would not make it all the way to 0. So I think about this like a number line here at 0. Let's say we're, like, if this is negative 5, negative 4.52 would be like maybe right here, negative 4.52. If I were to go 3.6 or 3.86 to the right, so if I were to add 3.86, it wouldn't be enough to get me all the way to 0 or into the positive, so I know that I'm still over here in the negatives. And I wanted to know if that number would result in a negative number, and it sure does. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in class.